Right, here we go. Back again. Okay? And today I've got, well, it's a vaccine update, which I'm sure you're all waiting on, and a 5G update, right? Because they are both in the pipeline, okay? And before I made this video, I noticed last night that it's saying now that the cases of coronavirus across the world has now seemingly passed the 1 million mark, all right? And that's coming out of a university, right? So it must be true, okay? And they're saying, right, how long will it take to develop a coronavirus vaccine, right? How long do you think it would take? And how long does it usually take? All right. Well, to develop a vaccine, it usually takes, typically 6 to 10 years, right? And they want to compress this time frame down because they're telling us that it's needed and people are screaming out for it, of course, right? Like me and you. And it's saying that it's a race against time now, but there's only so much that they can do to speed things up. But I'm sure they'll try their best, right? So don't worry, okay? And Somerset Live, University of Bath expert says coronavirus vaccine could be available to people by the end of 2020, right? So forget the 6 to 10 years, okay? They want it today. BBC News, Australian scientists begin tests on potential vaccines, coronavirus vaccines, right? And that was last night, so they're well underway. In the Mirror, also now, British cigarette firm develops potential coronavirus vaccine, right? And this is seemingly from a tobacco plant, I believe. And everybody now, like I said before, everybody's behind this. Everybody's rushing to make this vaccine, right? And I seen this in the Science website, in depth. Infect volunteers to speed a coronavirus vaccine? ? Right? And a few things to note from this. And it says, but as the scale of the pandemic becomes clearer, a provocative, ethically complicated proposal to shave many months off that timeline is gaining traction. Give people an experimental vaccine and then deliberately try to infect them. Now, I wonder how they're going to manage to do that. Alright? And it says, Plockton and other proponents of coronavirus challenge studies say risks could be reduced by only enrolling young adults who seem to rarely suffer severe symptoms. To further decrease risks, the challenge could use a coronavirus strain from a person who had mild symptoms, a natural virus weakened in the laboratory, or a coronavirus mimic made by adding genes, such as the one for its surface spike protein, into a different harmless virus, right? So they're going to get this virus from someone who's got it or create it, and then they're going to give it to one of the volunteers, right? And how they're going to manage that. It also says the US National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who stages human challenge studies of influenza, notes that the virus is so new, it is not clear how often it makes people seriously ill or leaves them with long-term complications. When you're going to give somebody a virus on purpose, you really want to understand the disease so that you know that what you are doing is a reasonable risk, right? So they're basically telling us they don't know nothing about this supposed virus, all right? and they're going to get it from someone who's got it and give it to someone else. And how they're going to do that, I'd imagine, would be via injection, right? Now remember that, okay? And I did also see this, right? Coronavirus. Pharmaceutical boss says 2 patients prepared for trials of vaccine, right? So this guy's got his volunteers prepped and ready, right? And one thing to note from this, he did say, right, that he added that while the medicines were promising, they would manage the symptoms of the virus rather than offering immunity to patients, right? Would you believe that? In that paragraph there, in that statement, he's practically thrown the whole pharmaceutical business under the bus, right? Because they cure absolutely fucking nothing, right? All they do is manage symptoms, right? And that is the truth, folks, okay? And he also says that real immunity will come from a vaccine. And that's why a lot of efforts are behind vaccine, right? So everyone's putting their full effort into a vaccine because it's the only way to defeat this virus, okay? And speaking of pharmaceuticals, as I noted in another video, they're reporting now UK pharmacists facing abuse and violence during lockdown. Police patrols have been deployed and at least one customer has threatened to kill staff, right? And like I said, I reported this in another video about the queuing pharmacies, and I did say that would create problems, right? And we are now seeing that, of course, okay? And in terms of, quickly on internet shutdowns, India are the kings of internet shutdowns, all right? And it's crazy over there. They shut down the internet for the slightest thing. And they're pleading to the Supreme Court to restore the 4G internet in Kashmir, right? And that brings me on to, of course, the 5G, right? And it's saying in The Guardian, UK media outlets told not to promote baseless 5G coronavirus theories, right? So the 5G being connected to the virus is blowing up pretty big, really, and it's everywhere, and they're now coming out dismissing it, right? British broadcasters are being warned that they face sanctions from the media regulator if they give airtime to false health advice about the coronavirus, after a Sussex radio station was given a severe warning for broadcasting baseless conspiracy theories that the pandemic is linked to the rollout of 5G phone networks, right? And of course, the girl, it's quite interesting what she says. She says in the article, she's quoted saying, just because you have this qualifications, do not wear that like a crown of glory. The days are gone when you were a doctor and a nurse and everybody trusted you. Those days are well gone. Do your own research. Do not trust a qualification, right? They own the medical elite and they determine what gets published, right? That's me broke it down, but she's pretty much on the money, right? No wonder they wanted her off, okay? And there's also reports that YouTube is a big spreader of this conspiracy theory about 5G. And there is also a lot of media pointing to WhatsApp, right? So remember that, okay? In the Metro, Coronavirus UK, why do people think 5G is responsible for COVID-19? Right, so it's everywhere. The Independent, why 5G is not causing the coronavirus pandemic, despite that conspiracy theory, right? So they're coming out and they're basically having to debunk it. There's lots of reports also, like this one. Woman calls workers killers for laying 5G cables that she wrongly claims causes coronavirus, right? How do they know it doesn't? They don't even know anything about the coronavirus. They've already told us that, right? There's even also celebrities. Well, I wouldn't call him a celebrity, but some people might. He's also been linking it, the 5G, to coronavirus. The Herald Scotland. Wild 5G coronavirus conspiracy theory is harmful. Ofcom rules, right? So there's going to be laws brought in there, I would imagine. Okay? BBC News 2 days ago. Coronavirus 5G certainly delayed in Europe and UK. Now, there's lots of reports saying that it's been delayed, right? But don't be fooled, okay? And they're telling us that here. After the virus, a 5G gold rush, question mark. Yeah, you bloody bet there's going to be a 5G gold rush, right? It's going to fucking boom, okay? And it's saying that after the virus, a 5G gold rush. The surge of Americans working, learning and socialising online is helping make the wireless industry's case for building superfast internet connections. Right, it's helping the case, of course it is. Alright? And it's saying the great American lockdown that put the economy on ice is fueling hopes of a 5G boom. Right? And it is gonna boom. I can bet my life on that. And it's saying that US mobile carriers were already planning to spend big on deploying super fast wireless internet in the coming years. Then the coronavirus pushed a massive nationwide adoption of Zoom video conferencing, distance learning, online doctors, visits and day-long Netflix binges. And the top internet providers are ready to spend a lot more, right? So the money's there, okay? And like I said before, forget about the food crises. The money's getting spent on 5G and the vaccine, right? And it's coming, okay? Like I said, I could bet my life on that, okay? And a lot of people have pointed this out. I did see it, but would you be surprised to hear that they actually done a drill, an exercise on a pandemic, right? I think it was in October, Event 201, right? And I'm sure most of you have seen this, but if you've... And it's basically, in October last year, they set up an exercise, right? And it is a hypothetical scenario to test the world's preparedness for a viral disease outbreak, right? And they mention that we are not now predicting that the COVID-19 outbreak will kill 65 million people, although our tabletop exercise included a mock novel coronavirus. The inputs we used for modelling the potential impact of the fictional virus are not similar to COVID-19, right? So fear not, okay? And just lastly on 5G, this is the boy you want to go and see, alright? Anthony Steele, Mark Steele, right? I'll link in his YouTube. And in terms of 5G, look no further, alright? He's the expert, okay? And I seen this, right? On Twitter, and I actually thought it was a new film. That's kind of what it looks like, doesn't it? Let's face it. And I immediately thought of things like this. The board game Pandemic, right? And it's a computer game as well. And the Netflix series Pandemic, right? It reminded me straight away of that. And of course, that is all part of the conditioning program that we're all under, right? The process of training or accustoming a person or animal to behave in a certain way or to accept certain circumstances, alright? And that is what we're seeing. And to be honest, if you can't grasp that now, then I don't really know what to say, alright? You either won't accept it or you can't see it, but it's really clear now for people to see. And speaking of conditioning, I'll have to do an update on Project Bluebeam soon, because the conditioning for that at the moment is practically through the roof, right? It's pretty crazy. And lastly, would you believe it? Prince Charles to open new coronavirus hospital, right? So he's had a miracle and he's all better now, and he's even going to open a new hospital for it. Wow, what a miracle, right? Anyway, that is about it. Bye-bye.